Good afternoon, Reject Nation. It's Greg Alba here.
And I'm John, son of Humphrey.
We're gonna talk about Thor Ragnarok today. Non-spoilers today, but before we do that, we wanted to give a shout out to today's video sponsor, and that is Stardust. Stardust is this brand new app that a lot of your favorite YouTubers are using, including Jeremy Johns, John Roca, Late to the Party, Schmozno, a whole bunch of people are using right now. And what this app basically allows you to do, and it's perfectly suited for what John and I love to do, you can do 30-second reactions for any film, TV show, that means any episode of any TV show, or even a trailer, and you can post your reactions, you can leave comments on it too.
You can even safeguard against spoilers.
But we also made a promise that we would feature some of your guys' Stardust reactions to Thor Ragnarok, so here you go.
Just seen Thor Ragnarok and the shit is fire, man.
Taika Waititi has completely just blown it out of the park.
It was okay. I felt like it was a little overrated.
Guys, the reviews are right. It's amazing. It's hilarious. I was laughing the entire time.
Thor Ragnarok is great. It's one of the best films in the MCU, in my opinion.
Definitely my top 5 of favorite Marvel films.
The best Marvel movie that's come out this year, best Thor movie.
Easily the best Thor movie out there, which wasn't that hard to do.
Kate Blanchett is a badass.
All the performances are great though, the action's great. It's just a really fun Marvel movie.
It's one of the funniest movies in the MCU, with the jokes coming a mile a minute. There were some characters that wore out their welcome, but there were some pleasant cameos as well.
Well, everyone seems to be in pretty much the same opinion. Maybe one or two of you not so much. John and I have a lot of fun using this app. We are definitely using it quite frequently, so please make sure to download the Stardust app and follow us at The Real Rejects.
That's right, and don't forget to send us your Justice League reactions for the next review.
Amen, sister.
Amen to that.
And also, I want to clarify too, yes, I have a Batman beanie on, but I have this Avengers shirt on, so you guys don't get too upset, but it's just so funny to read the comments.
I'm gonna wear a Dark Horse shirt next time, and an Image Comics hat.
Yeah, this film was quite an enjoyable movie. If you look on Rotten Tomatoes, you'll see it got like a -5%. No one's enjoying this movie.
Unpopular opinion
time, going against the grain. No, well, this is Marvel's third film this year, and Guardians of the Galaxy 2, while that got amazing reviews as well, John and I, we enjoyed it, but we weren't the biggest fans of it. We also saw Spider-Man Homecoming, which was really fun, really hilarious film. This movie, to me, gave me everything I could have wanted it to be.
Yeah.
It was the best of all three Marvel films that came out this year, in my personal opinion. They've made Thor into just a flat-out comedy. It really is. This is really Taika, how do you say his name?
Taika Waititi.
Yeah, okay.
It's not that hard.
It's more of a Taika Waititi film inside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe than it is hiring some guy just to direct another Thor movie.
Yeah,
this really feels like his own. It's got his brand of humor. If you've seen films like What We Do in the Shadows, he also still implements everything you want from an MCU film, including awesome spectacle and awesome visuals throughout. And that's why I love this film the most out of all three Marvel movies that came out this year, because it gave me a lot of humor, which Marvel's known for, and it also gave some really bomb action sequences and some really beautiful visual imagery that he would mix up. Yes, you get to visit Asgard again, but you get to explore a lot of different areas, and you spend a lot of time on this new planet called Sakaar.
It's just like the garbage dump of the universe, so all the buildings are really like tight and packed together and look like they were assembled out of junk, and there are junk heaps everywhere, and everybody's kind of a bunch of different people wearing masks and rags.
Beautiful junk.
It's like a Technicolor trash heap.
Yeah. And then there's also some moments where they toy around just with artistic imagery. There's one point where Loki does his whole, like, let me read into your mind, and you get this, like, beautiful, dream-like sequence that you do see images of in the trailer. And I was wondering if they slowed it down for the trailer, but when you see it in the movie, no, it is slowed down, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, it's those tableau-style shots that just look like paintings, man. They just look like classic, you know, the images you used to see, like, reading the legends of gods fighting.
Yeah.
It looks just like that, but for the comic book age.
There's just so much to rave about with what makes this film so great. I find my flaws with this film only come out in nitpicks, because I'd rather go over, like, everything I really loved, and that's really the characters and the cast assembled here. The cast here elevates what's already really good written material for these characters. You really get an impression right off the bat from the very opening of this film that Thor has already been reinvented because of his humorous style. He's much more laid back, more relatable. His dynamics that he has with pretty much anyone that he interacts with, it's less I'm a god. He just seems more like a relatable dude with still those layers of royalty behind him.
Well, he's still like a boisterous warrior child. In a way, I feel like Thor probably knows he's not that special in terms of the universe anymore, because everyone's a special thing now.
Yeah.
And that gives the movie a whole new vibe, a whole new sheen, and it opens up the cornucopia of humor that flows forth from Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Because he's so funny in this.
He's hilarious in this film. This film has a great ensemble assembled. Not everyone gets equal amount of screen time, but whenever they're there, they serve a really strong impression. They're a great service to the film.
Everybody really proves why they're there. Everybody gets a moment to shine, at least.
And what I will definitely say, though, is that this is still Chris Hemsworth's movie. You know, you look at films like Captain America Civil War, which have a pretty big ensemble of characters, and you're like, yeah, at the end of the day, it's really Cap's movie, I guess. But when this movie ends, you're like, no, that was Thor's movie. That was Thor's movie, but the ensemble is still absolutely fantastic in the film. And Chris Hemsworth absolutely nails it. I love the reinvention of Thor's personality, because he was that character I didn't really care as much for. It makes you want to watch more of Thor. I don't know how accurate it is to the comic books. I don't really care, because I just love what Chris Hemsworth is doing now.
It's just so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
Honestly, this had the freshness and the fun that I wanted out of Guardians 2 that I didn't get out of Guardians 2.
I'll admit, I was one of those people in the audience, and this might have to do with the fact that my ear has been ringing all day, but the first like 20 minutes of this film, I was having a hard time readjusting to the different vibe and flair of this type of movie, because it's so opposite from the last couple times I've seen Thor in the MCU. The whole vibe, not just Thor is different, but the entirety of it feels very different. It feels much more like a comedy. However, even when I was having a harder time readjusting to it, I was aware in the moment that once I've readjusted, I'm probably going to really enjoy the hell out of this movie. And sure enough, I did. I was already enjoying it, but I was starting to really love it once you do get that Hulk introduction. I heard Mark Ruffalo say in an interview that, you know, it's fun that he gets to play two different characters this time. And at first I was like, isn't that what you've always been doing? Yeah. But then you watch the movie, you're like, oh, I get what he means now. Because the Hulk has probably as much, if not more, screen time than Bruce Banner does.
Yeah.
And he talks quite a lot in this film.
He has a personality now beyond just Rage Monster. They spend a lot of time just Hulk and Thor for a little while bantering back and forth, and like Hulk and Banner are aware of each other, and they have opinions about each other, you know, and they can be played against each other in theory.
He's a great supporting character in this movie, the Hulk. And what I really loved about it was when it's Hulk and Thor, it's fantastic, and when it's Hulk and Banner, that's also fantastic.
Yeah, man, Mark Ruffalo really brought it on both ends of the spectrum.
He really did.
Yeah.
You could tell that he really brought a performance for the Incredible Hulk this time around. That fight sequence that they do tease a lot in the trailer is really cool. There's other fights in this movie that are cooler. It's still a rewarding scene, and there's more layers to that sequence than maybe what the trailer was alluding at.
This was one movie where I definitely felt that sense of like, oh cool, the trailer laid out a lot of dots, but the way they all connected I wasn't necessarily expecting, and a lot of those dots had a lot more around them that I was expecting.
Cate Blanchett as Hela. She's a fantastic villain and a fantastic performance. This is easily the sexiest I've ever found Cate Blanchett.
True that.
I never really have found her to be all that sexy. I know some people are like, I fucking love Cate Blanchett. I never have, but when she shows up in this movie, you're like, whoa, she is really hot.
Yeah. I've found Cate Blanchett attractive, generally speaking, but yeah, this was the first time I was like, what?
And not that age is a problem, but it also did feel like, did you like lose 30 years of age?
In a way that I didn't look like de-aging or didn't look like any trickery was happening. I was just like, you look great. What's your regimen? I want to know.
She plays Hela perfectly.
Yeah.
I thought she probably had one of the more challenging aspects of the film.
Oh yeah.
Which was
anybody who is playing a villain in a Marvel movie now has kind of a challenging role to play, because that's the big thing.
Beyond that, though, when you first set her up, she's scary and she's imposing and very threatening, and then she has moments that are comedic later on in the movie. And oftentimes when that happens with the villain, it can feel like, I hear the writing of the comedy. But she handled it perfectly. She every time she had to have a funny line, she nailed it. It was still within the context of the performance. It never seemed like she was breaking to do the joke. And I don't know if she's like the best MCU villain. I would put her up there with one of the better ones.
One of the few kind of complaints I had about this was that we do check out of the Hela story after a while.
Yeah.
So I figured like it could have used a little more focus on her, but I thought everything she did was terrific, and she embodied embodied the character really well, and what we did see of the character was better than a lot of the other Marvel villains we've seen of late.
Yeah.
You know?
So without giving away the plot and its details, there's a lot of reveals that kept happening throughout the movie that I'm like, whoa, they did not give that away in the trailer. So the plot of the movie that you can kind of pick up on in the trailer is Thor and Loki, they're stuck on a planet called Sakaar. And that's the dumpster place we were talking about earlier. But while that's going on, Hela is unleashing Ragnarok. She's destroying Asgard and taking over it. So Thor's whole goal is to try to escape so he can get to Asgard and save the day.
Yeah.
When Hela first shows up in the movie, her scene, when she finally arrives on Asgard, everything leading up to that, I did get that feeling in my heart of, whoa. How are they going to beat this person?
Yeah, right.
This is pretty scary, actually. The problem that occurs is about after the midpoint of the film, something very specific starts to happen because they were doing a good job of balancing Thor on Sakaar and then Hela on Asgard. And then about halfway through, you kind of don't check in with Hela very much.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh yeah, there's this storyline going on. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't forget about it because on Sakaar, they're reminding you about it, but you're not really spending time there. So the effect of her becomes lessened over time.
She becomes sort of a subplot for a while where you're still checking back in, but the main villain for a little while at least feels like just the circumstances, of trying to get to Asgard in the first place.
Loki being in the film, Tom Hiddleston, he does the God of Mischief better than anyone else. Some people were saying like he feels different in this too. I'm like, no, he doesn't. He's always cracks jokes and always been funny. You know?
Well, yeah, and over the course of several movies, like that character has to grow and change a little bit. You know, we've done this a few times, and we've seen Loki in more than just Thor movies.
Yeah.
You know, so it makes sense to me that he would grow a bit.
Yeah. At the same time, though, being the God of Mischief, you do still go back and forth with like, which side are you on?
Right.
It still does a good job of doing that. And now that Thor is all loosened up now, the chemistry and the banter between him and Loki is even better than it's ever been.
Oh yeah, I almost buy them more as brothers now.
That is the truth.
Now I'm like, oh, you guys totally bicker like brothers.
There are some scenes in this movie where I really finally was just feeling the brother dynamic between these two. I really felt it.
And even in their scenes with Odin, even with Anthony Hopkins, I was like, I see the family here.
Yeah,
you know?
Odin is not really in the film all that much, and Odin's probably the only one they didn't amp up humor for. I don't think he gets a single joke in this movie, actually. They kept serious, and that was a good choice.
Yeah.
Because most of the film keeps it pretty light. Most of the film is pretty funny. Odin's that character they keep very serious for a specific purpose, and it's very effective. What I found super impressive about this film is there's a large variety of characters in here, and there's more I want to mention. I never got the impression that they were wasted talent. Carl Urban plays Scourge. Won't give him away too much of what he is, but he's very opposite from what you might expect for a Carl Urban role to be. When you see the trailer, you're like, oh, it's Carl Urban. You know?
He's gonna be some gruff
Mr. Badass dude. Yeah, and then you watch like the second you see him on screen and you see who his character is, it threw me off.
Yeah.
I'm like, that wasn't what I was expecting Carl Urban to be like.
And it's funny because he is and isn't what you expected all at the same time. That's kind of a clever trick, the likes of which are all over this movie.
Yeah.
Like those clever little twists of like, this is kind of what you thought, but not exactly.
Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie.
Starring Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
When I saw the trailer for this, I did not expect what that character was going to be, and she walked all over that screen, man. She commands that role so hard.
She's so multi-layered.
Yeah, she's awesome in this movie.
Yeah, and they never have to do something where like, okay, let's give her like a random monologue here so you care about her, you know?
Yeah.
It's all, and they don't do that with any character. It's so spread out, her performance. There are times where she's just super badass. There are times where she doesn't seem like she's on her game. There are times where she's having fun.
She's like Han Solo, man. She's just drinking and getting in fights and doing scavenger stuff.
And she has good history, and she has great chemistry with Hulk and with Thor as well. Now I'm excited to see more of her. She's a character I wouldn't mind seeing some micro spin-off of. Last but not least, Jeff Goldblum as the Grandmaster. He's a character that, because he's Jeff Goldblum and he put him in the trailer, you're probably going to want to see more screen time of him. I know I'm repeating myself here.
There's enough Goldblum.
There's just enough. That's what I felt was right about everything, and when I keep saying no one felt wasted.
Yeah.
Is he's not necessarily have like as much screen time as other characters, but when he's there, he's super effective, and he's doing his Goldblum thing. He's doing his Goldblum
to the max.
Goldblummed out in this movie.
He is Neon Goldblum.
Yeah, he really is. He's clearly having so much fun with it, but he's also committed to what the performance is.
Yeah.
And he's great in the movie. I thought he was great. Everyone in this film is great. Like,
Well, and his interplay with Chris Hemsworth is priceless a lot of the time.
Yeah, and I gotta give this film credit on its editing, because I know Tiki Watts likes to... he likes to let his actors improvise. And there are certain lines that really got me. Where I can step out and go, that felt like this was probably part of the improvisational stuff.
That's a Tiki Watts right there.
Yeah. However, this film is edited so well that oftentimes you watch movies, like take the Ghostbusters remake, for example, or take any Judd Apatow movie, and you're like, yeah, they just slice this together in the editing room once they let all their actors improvise. This movie's edited so well with its great dialogue that there are times where I'm like, I don't know what's improvised and what's not.
That's something that I noticed when I first watched What We Do in the Shadows. I was like, this feels so off the cuff, and yet somehow, unlike, you know, a lot of American comedies this style, nothing ever felt overplayed or like a joke got beat into the ground. It was really tight, and that carries directly over here. And there's a lot going on in this movie.
It's tightly woven.
It's a juggling act all the way through, and it for the most part sticks it.
This movie could have been a mess.
It's not too long, and it is like a little over 2 hours, but it doesn't feel like that.
And it has a lot of rewarding stuff in the finale. Throughout the whole film, there's a lot of rewarding stuff. But in the finale, there's great arcs, there's great developments into Thor's journey, a lot of the character's journey, into what this means for the MCU leading up to Infinity War. I thought it was one of the best MCU movies I've ever seen. I'm glad they saved this one for last. Out of all three of these, I'm like, because Marvel's made essentially 3 comedies this year.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is the one that gave me the sci-fi 80s spectacle of Guardians. A lot of the great humor from Spider-Man.
The charming
and then they combine it into this movie. Yeah. And the music in it is great too. Sometimes it's composed, sometimes it's straight throwback music, themed music from other things that we've heard in like popular movies. I can't sit here and tell you specifically why they went with 80s theme. I can't.
Because 80s nostalgia is in.
Perhaps. That might be it.
I mean, truthfully, if you look at it, I gotta imagine a lot of the people making a lot of the major motion pictures now grew up in the 80s, which is why we have this nostalgia boom, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. And so that's probably the best way I could justify it, because I'm not like watching it going, yeah, Thor belongs there. Because like Guardians is easy to justify because Star-Lord
loves those 80s.
And now, so that makes so much sense. With here, I'm like, these guys aren't born in 1980s America.
Yeah.
So I can't justify specifically why. All I can tell you is it works.
Well, because it borrows the timbres of the 80s without borrowing direct because the thing, Guardians like references the 80s aggressively, and this movie doesn't. Even the
this movie has 80s style.
Yeah, it's got the colors, and it's got some of the synth sounds and stuff, and some of the, you know, oscillations between wackier things and more serious things, but it's not throwing stuff in your face. And even the most recognizable song is not an 80s song. Like Immigrant Song is from the 70s.
See, my nitpicks with the film are so specific that they would be spoilers. While I think there's great arguments to be had with those nitpicks, I would have to save them for the spoiler review. When it comes to these big Hollywood films, you gotta always weigh your pros and cons.
Yeah.
And for here, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll find some cons, whatever. It's not without fault in certain areas. However, it doesn't ever ruin the entirety of the scene, even when it takes place.
Yeah. I mean, I found this to be super tight, super enjoyable, and like you, it gave me everything that I wanted. I think everybody's good in it. It's really well shot. The music's great. The comedy's good.
It got me excited for Thor.
It got me finally happy to be like, yes, a Thor movie.
And I really cared about Thor, and I really wanted him to succeed.
And I feel like I've heard some people say like it's a straight comedy, and I don't feel that that's true either. I feel like it's a funny superhero movie. It's a superhero movie with a lot of sense of humor, but it also has all the sci-fi and all the superhero stuff you want.
Because the action in it is incredible.
Yeah, it sort of reinvigorates not only a franchise that needed it, but also just tropes and themes of a superhero movie in general. Like everything pops for the most part.
If I were to score this out of 10, I would give it like probably a 9 or 9.5 out of 10.
Give it a 9.
Yeah.
Solid 9, maybe.
A solid 9. I feel like over time, I'm probably going to just call it 10 over 10. All right, guys. Well, that's our review of Thor Ragnarok. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you made it to the end of this video. Appreciate you being here. Love you, love you, love you. So are you like everybody else who hated Thor Ragnarok and we're the only ones that liked it apparently?
Yeah. Are you on our lonely island?
We're on our lonely island here. Is Thor now your favorite one? Should Tiki Watts direct all the MCU movies?
Clearly that's what we've learned from all these.
Hey guys, subscribe to The Real Rejects. Please click that notification bell. You can follow us on social media. Links in the description box. Please make sure to go check out our Patreon. We're trying to do as much content as we can right now, and we're having a lot of fun posting content on Patreon as well. So become a Patronaject today. And of course, follow us on the Stardust app at The Real Rejects, and make sure to send us your reactions for the upcoming Justice League movie.
It's gonna be just as good as this movie.
With that one, I'll wear a Thor hat and a Batman shirt.
Yeah, go.